We all have the capacity within us to lead and manage. And I think one of our goals is to help people wake up the leader within.
It's an existential condition for an organization to thrive, and particularly in the difficult world context that we know today, to be sustainable.
Leadership development interventions can really accelerate change in a massive way and very often allow for things that one might not have thought about or dreamt of at the start of an engagement.
When a client comes to us, they usually have a very strong feeling that there is something that needs to be done on the leadership side. It is, however, very poorly described, and because it's not precise, it's extremely difficult to act on.
I think where our value is that we address it at the mindset and behavior level, and that we do it in a way that is very relevant to the individual's job, so that they see the impact for them personally in what we're doing to help them do their job better, and as an organization perform at a higher level.
Think about a soccer team with great players. They can easily lose the championship if they don't work as a great team, and if they don't build on their individual strengths and help each other mask or address their weaknesses. Think how some mediocre team at the same time have been able to win incredible championships simply working as a great team. That's what we try to achieve in leadership development. We try to take great teams and make them fabulous.
There's many theories about leadership. There is a historic school that looks at leadership in terms of traits, the character of great men and women. And therefore, good leadership has to do with giving all the opportunities to these great people. The limitation of this theory is unfortunately that if you're not born with that charisma, you are not going to be able to develop it. Another school takes leadership from a behavior angle. That's a very pragmatic school, because it essentially helps people to define the behaviors they need to develop, and then they go and develop themselves to do that. The limitation of that school is it tends to produce a whole series of lists of ideal behaviors that are so ideal that, one, nobody can be perfect, of course, but also they lack a bit of relevance for concrete business situations. Now, there's a skeptical school that says you can't say anything about successful leadership except at a particular point in time in the life of an organization, a particular type of leadership is necessary. It fosters the ideal image of the ultimate situational manager. And some people are indeed able to change their styles, to change their approach significantly, but it's very, very tough to do. So that's the limitation of that school. Then there's probably a fourth school that speaks about functional excellence. You need to be a good generalist. You need to have a mix of functional skills that corresponds to the needs of the company at that particular moment in time. The fifth one is essentially a psychological school. It's very powerful because it builds on how people really work and how people function. The downside of it is something by definition difficult to measure. Interventions require some psychological experience, and if you don't have that, that actually can be even a bit dangerous. Our own approach is a fairly holistic one. It borrows a number of aspects of all of these schools, and it mixes them in a pretty effective cocktail.
So our basic beliefs of designing and delivering leadership development programs are as follows. It's hugely contextual. The focus of leadership is to get people to act in a particular way. For adults to change their behavior, it has to be very relevant to the work that they're doing. It needs to be embedded in what they're doing day to day. It needs to be measured. You really need to put hard numbers on the soft stuff through taking a pre and post 360 assessment of the individual. You can also do this by taking a broader view at the organization and seeing if the behaviors that you were expecting to change actually changed. And lastly, you have to make sure that if you're not getting the desired behavior change that you're looking for, that you dig a bit deeper.
It's about learning to build one's character. And I happen to believe that character is a muscle that can be exercised.
Behavior change requires more than just showing people the new way of doing things. In those situations, you need to help them shift their mindset to see why they need to behave in that new way.
The image that comes to my mind when we speak about that is acupuncture needles. If you plant them in the right nerve, you actually help people develop their mindsets very, very quickly. The first one is the ability for leaders to align their professional purpose with their personal purpose. The more these are aligned, the more people have energy and determination. The second one is reframing reality. Energy comes from recognizing strengths that can be amplified to seize opportunities. And essentially what we help leaders with is the ability to reframe situations, very concrete situations. A lot of leaders do not have many mentors. Mentors are something that you look for, that you invest in. The third acupuncture needle is about the ability to connect with mentors. The fourth one is helping people and leaders find the sources of energy. What have been moments in our team over the last month where we have felt particularly energized, and when are moments where we have felt particularly, in an abyss, depressed. And why is that? And the last one is essentially having the courage to stand for a cause. And that's also something that people can learn, that courage to overcome their fears.
That's the basic journey that we put people on, starting from changing their own behavior, learning how to motivate and inspire others, and learning how to intervene at an organizational level to achieve the outcomes. Customized leadership program means that you're going to get the set of tools and approaches that your organization and the people who are going through the training need. So what happens behind the scenes is a very rigorous process, the same process that you would use for a strategy project that starts out with a detailed diagnostic to understand the current context and understand where the participants are versus where they need to be. Then the program is designed all around the current state versus the future state. The set of interventions that are going to be delivered in the third phase are based on that upfront diagnostic. A balanced set of forums, fieldwork, and feedback. And then lastly is determine and sustain, which happens throughout.
I do believe that we have developed a good methodology, whether it's in India, China, Japan, Australia, North America, South America, Middle East. The methodology that we apply is the same. Our experts deliver in a very consistent way our programs, and the impact we achieve is very consistent across the different regions.
Many times a client will come to us with a particular express need. What we find is that there's typically a greater need than just what they're coming with, typically through the diagnostic phase. Oftentimes, we'll see that the facts will say that broader behavior change is needed at lower levels of the organization, or role modeling changes are needed at the top of the organization.
Leadership development has probably a higher return on investment than most of the investments they can make.
Those organizations that invest in leadership development as a part of any performance transformation are nearly 2.5 times more likely to succeed than those that don't.
The results will be an acceleration in the business impact, more revenues, lower costs, more innovation, and at the same time, stronger leadership.